Good evening, everyone. I am Aman Khare, your evening host and management training at Adore. Before we divine in, let me give you a quick glimpse into Adore. Adore is a global network of students and young professionals like yourself, all passionate about inspiring you to make a positive impact. And we connect you with an established professional and offer a platform to learn from their journey. Now, on behalf of Team Mavde and Adore, we are thrilled to welcome you to this webinar on history of climate change. And to make this season even more engaging, and we kindly request everyone to switch on their camera. And now the moment will all have been waiting for us. Our esteemed guest speaker for tonight is Ms.Liana Fahmida Rahman. Ms.Liana Fahmida Rahman is a social science student and research enthusiast and content writer and developer and advocate for positive social change in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Ms. Liana, it's a true honor to have you with us today, and we all eager to gain valuable insight from your expertise.
We have a few topic of discussions today. That is, first and foremost, what is climate change? The second, the Industrial Revolution, the primary cause of where it all started. Topic three is the scientific discovery behind it, who and how we discovered what it is and how it is impacting us directly. Topic four is our environmental movements caused by it. And topic five is public awareness policies. And the public awareness policies are of things like how we can mitigate it, adapt to the current changes that are happening. So let us start our discussion today. First topic is climate change. We need to understand what it is before we get into a description. To basically start off, climate change is the overall weather or the change or the patterns of a certain area in a long period of time. For example, if we were to say climate, we would say the climate of the South Asian region, that is us, is not the same of that of North. The North, as in we can say Russia, or we can say the USA or Canada. So the climate of each region varies by a lot. So if we were to say that climate change refers to a long-term changes in the average weather pattern of Earth. The layer of gases around the Earth is called an atmosphere. It is made up of gases like carbon dioxide and methane. If we were to say what is an atmosphere, we can say that an atmosphere is, think of it like a blanket over the surface of the Earth. This blanket is made up of gases that keeps the temperature of the earth suitable for all living things to live on. As we know, when the earth was first formed, it was not suitable for humans or any other organisms to live on because it was so hot. So the earth slowly cooled down and it made an atmosphere around the surface of the earth that makes this planet livable and not the others. No other planet has an atmosphere that can sustain any living creatures. So our Earth, our planet Earth has this atmosphere that sustains life on this. Normally, these gases trap some of the sun's heat to keep our planet warm enough for us to live on. However, when we burn fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas for energy, we add up more of these gases into an atmosphere. That is to say, the sunlight that we get from the sun is trapped due to this atmosphere on our Earth. That makes this planet livable. But when we use fossil fuels, when these fossil fuels start chain reactions that work like dominoes after one another, so then this atmosphere makes the surface too hot for us to live. That is, this is the main reason behind global warming as we know today. Uh, Not only is this affecting our life directly, this is causing major uh, environmental pollution and other degradations of the planet that we see today. Thus, trapping more heat causes the Earth's temperature to rise. So, according to some scientists and people who researched on this topic, they say that in the last 100 years, the average temperature of our planet has rised more than 2 degrees Celsius. That is a lot if we talk about it in a scale. Uh, this warming can cause a change in weather patterns, leading to more extreme weather like hotter summers, colder winters, and more storms, and change in rainfall patterns. As we can see that this in all of our daily lives, that nowadays for the last 5 to 6 years, the summers have become unbearably hot. The winters have become much drier, with both causes things like droughts and then later storms in the monsoon time that the people or the countries in South Asian region face almost every year annually. The storms and the cyclones, these are natural disasters that are extreme, and it is caused by the changes or the disruption in the equilibrium of nature. Mostly we can say that these changes or these drastic natural disasters are caused by global warming. In that way, we can say that we are the reason behind the global warming. Hence, these natural disasters are thought to be caused by us. These changes can affect plants, animals, and humans, making it harder for some species to survive and impacting the way of life. As we know, many of the animals have become extinct in the last several years. We last heard of the white rhinoceros that was extinct last year due to its inability to adapt with the climate changes and the recent weather patterns. Uh, okay. So not only is this affecting the biodiversity, it is affecting the planet and also us. Moving on to the next topic, we will see the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is basically the invention of steam engines. The Industrial Revolution started in the late 18th to early 19th century. It transformed the societies with new machines and mass production. That is to say, due to the Industrial Revolution, we first saw the invention of steam machines. Steam machines are used in the earlier factories or industry to do a work, to run a factory. These steam machine needed a lot of oil or coal and fossil fuels. So thus, with the heavy use of fossil fuels, we could see heavy uh, environment pollution, the emission of gas, the pollution of water, the dumping of wastage in rivers, and these industrial revolution caused our society to move from the agricultural way of life to the industrial way of life. Before the industrial revolution, people were engaged in economic activities that were related to agriculture. People engaged in growing crops. They engaged in rearing livestock like cows and goats and other animals. They engaged in mostly agricultural activities. But due to the rise of industrial revolution, the society has shifted from the agriculture to the industrial way of life. Hence, every man, most men, but most of the population have shifted from the agriculture to the factory life. Hence, no, the number or the percentage has reduced drastically since then. Um, uh, um, as we said earlier, the fossil fuels like coal, gas, and were used to power factories, train, and other inventions. As we all know, before that, we didn't see much of, vehicles that were run by fossil fuels. Everyone used cycles or cow carts or things like that. While these fuels boosted economic growth and technological progress, burning them released a large amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And this is where the changes in the climate or the destruction of nature started. Uh, Yes, with the help of the Industrial Revolution and the steam engine and the industries and factories, we developed our economy. We were heavily engaged in production and supply and consumerism, but this has taken a drastic toll on nature because the amount of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases released by these fuels were being trapped on the Earth's surface that started to trap this heat and rise the temperature of the planet gradually. This contributed to global warming by trapping heat and leading to climate change. Thus, the areas that were already very hot, like ours, started to get more hot, and the areas that were more cold started to get more cold. But at seasonal changes, we both, all people of all the climate, see drastic natural disasters. Thus, the Industrial Revolution marks significant advancement, but also initiated environmental challenges due to the greenhouse gas emissions. It's a very debatable or debated topic that industrial revolution is good or bad. Yes, of course, it's good. It has made us who we are today. It has made the society what it is today, but it has also drastically destroyed the planet we're living on. Hence, the equilibrium between both, the equilibrium between the factories and the equilibrium between the nature and factories is much needed to sustain this planet. Or else, if the environmental pollution continues and if the industrial revolution isn't made sustainable for all, it will cause the utter destruction of this planet. Uh, Hence, it will make no sense if the society is so developed, but the planet has become unlivable. It will make no sense at all. Moving on to our next topic. Our next topic is the scientific discovery. Scientific discovery is basically the time or the phase in our society where many discovered the actual problems that is happening in the nature because of this greenhouse gases and fossil fuel emission and climate changes. At first, we can see John Tyndall. John Tyndall was an Irish scientist. He discovered the effects of greenhouse. But before John Tyndall, there was another scientist who was a female, I assume. I'm not entirely sure. In the year 1886 or 1860s, Eunice Newton Foote discovered that carbon dioxide gas traps more sunlight. She conducted an experiment in her own laboratory that was probably in her house, where she saw that if she put carbon dioxide gases in a cylinder and she left it in the sunlight in a room or a laboratory, the temperature of that place rises significantly more than other gases do. Uh, what she discovered was that if you leave a cylinder of any other gases, let it be oxygen or any other gases that is not a greenhouse gas, in a room with sunlight, it will be at normal temperature and the temperature will rise gradually. But if we keep greenhouse gases like methane and carbon dioxide in a room full of sunlight, and then that carbon dioxide or then methane traps sunlight more, hence the room gets more and more heated. Then we have Arrhenius. Svante Arrhenius is the man who discovered that carbon dioxide can rise temperature. Uh, After we saw Eunice Newton Foote discover that carbon dioxide rises temperature, John Tyndall conducted many experiments with scientific instruments that led him to concur in his study that the effect greenhouse has on nature is to trap heat. Later, this experiment was further studied by Svante Arrhenius. He discovered that carbon dioxide can raise temperature as drastically as 5 to 6 degrees Celsius. So ultimately, we can also call him the father of the global warming, as he's the first man to discover that, to properly discover with accurate information that carbon dioxide can rise temperature. He had proper instruments to conduct that study. Then we have Charles David Keeling. He measured how carbon dioxide emission is caused by fossil fuels. Now, this is in the year 1900s or in the 19th century. Um, Sorry, in the 20th century. He had many instruments, and he had written a paper on it that measured the carbon dioxide present in an environment with accuracy. He is the man who invented that machine, that the machine that calculates how much carbon dioxide is present. So he also conducted the experiment, and further on he showed that this carbon dioxide gas emitted causes the temperature rise, and this carbon dioxide gas is emitted from fossil fuels. That is when we use it in cars, when we use it in as oil or petroleum and gases in cars and vehicles and other equipments like factories and things like that. When fossil fuel is used in any activities, it emits carbon dioxide. He's the man who discovered that, Charles David Keeling. Then we have the hole in the ozone layer. Now, this I have left open because the hole in the ozone layer was actually discovered accidentally. But when three scientists was in the Antarctica they were British scientists. They were in the Antarctica, and they were taking measurements of the carbon ozone layer on the Earth over the Antarctic region. Ozone is the gas O3. That means three molecules of oxygen bind together forms the ozone layer from the ozone gas. So we have a layer of ozone all over our planet. This ozone layer helps us to uh, stop the harmful radiation of the sun. That is the UV ray, gamma ray, beta ray, and things like that. This ozone layer repels the UV, ultraviolet ray from the earth and reflects it to other. The ozone layer is a covering all over our surface. Hence, this is very important to protect us from the things like skin cancer. Ozone layer prevents us from skin cancer and ultraviolet rays. So how this ozone layer, the hole in ozone layer was discovered? When those British scientists were in the Antarctica, they were conducting a review, and they suddenly, their machine suddenly saw that a huge drop in the ozone above the Antarctic region was seen. At first, no one believed it. At first, they thought the machine was broken, or the machine was giving wrong information. They thought something was wrong with the machine. But for 3 consecutive years, they performed that studies. Then every 3 year, they saw that the ozone layer was gradually decreasing. That is, the ozone layer above the Antarctic region was gradually decreasing. The reason behind this is probably because it is the most since the Earth is depleted shape, the more layer from that region, the north and the south, had very thinning ozone layer. The ozone layer in the equator is slightly thicker than the ones on the pole, north and south pole. So Antarctic and the above and Arctic had thinner ozone layers. So both of them were thinning gradually, and the layer over the Antarctic had a big hole in them. That is, no ozone gases were present in that region. This was discovered by British Antarctic Survey team. The scientists were Joe Furman, Brian Gardiner, and Jonathan Sanklin. After the shocking discovery of the hole in the ozone layer, the scientists made a paper. They made their paper available to throughout the whole world. They let everyone know that something very drastic is happening. And after this was discovered and known by everyone in on this planet. The Montreal Protocol in the year 1987 was signed. The Montreal Protocol basically tells us how we can prevent the ozone layer from being depleted further. Many things were proposed in the Montreal Protocol. The first and the most important what was proposed was the stopping of the usage of CFC gas. CFC is chlorofluorocarbon. Yeah, it is a gas. It is mainly found in our equipments like ACs and refrigerators. This prevents this emission of gas thoroughly destroys the ozone layer, as the carbon and fluoro in the ozone layer reacts with the ozone of the atmosphere, the O3, and causes it to completely shatter. So after the year 1987, this Montreal Protocol was thoroughly applied all over the world, and the use of CFC has reduced. And it is to say that by the year 2050 or 2030 something, the ozone layer will be completely recovered again, because as we stopped using CFC in our refrigerators and ACs, the ozone layer has slightly recovered all these years, and it is said that by the year 2050 it will regain its completely recovered position again. Then moving on, we have the topic 4, that is the environmental movement. It basically talks about the initiatives taken by our government and international organizations to protect our planet from further damage. These environmental movement are made up of various treaties or protocols that are encouraged to be taken by every country around the world. So we can start with, let's start with Earth Day 1970s. It is to mention that during the 70s was when people first saw uh, the impact of pollution on the nature. People during the 70s realized how the nature has been or is being continuously destroyed by human activities. So they started a widespread environmental activism. They raised awareness about the pollution's impact and advocating for global conservation efforts. That is, during the 1970s, people realized that their activities like using too much fossil fuel, using CFC gases is destroying the nature, and it is causing various disasters like wildfires and cyclones and storms and untimely rain, droughts and floods and things like that. So that is when people started to finally speak up against the pollution and speak up for the nature. Then we have It is also, I have to mention that during Earth Day 1970, people started various acts that was Clean Water, Endangered Species Act, and eco-friendly laws were implemented during that time that stopped industries and that stopped factories from further destroying the nature. um, then we have the IPCC 1988. The IPCC stands for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Basically, this organization influences policies of every country and every organization in the planet by letting them know about the scientific informations, by letting them know about what issues are there and what causes certain, what act will prevent natural disaster and what act or what activity will cause further damage. uh, this organization, IPCC, provides government with scientific infos and it helps to develop policies. Every country has policies regarding every aspects in their states. The policies regarding environmental are heavily influenced by IPCC as they have some definite policies that every country must follow so that nature is protected and conserved. Then we have the Earth Summit of 1992. It was initiated in the United Nations. United Nations addressed global environmental challenges, leading to agreements on sustainable development goals and strategies for tackling climate changes and biodiversity loss. This is when, during the 90s, the UN started to take much attention in the natural climate or natural way of life. Uh, it encouraged scientific management of forest. UN during the Earth Summit 1992, the sustainable and scientific management of forest and biodiversity was put forward. It conducted uh, information and initiated how to protect forest around the world. The forests are the main producers of oxygen gas on the planet. So the rising amount of carbon dioxide can only be tackled by the oxygen that will allow us to maintain the equilibrium. And as we all know, forests or trees are the ones who absorb the carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So the forests are a critical element in the Earth Summit, as forests are the only thing on this planet that can prevent the global warming and the crises that we see today. So UN initiated the Earth Summit to prevent the biodiversity loss. That is, when forests are cut down or they are destroyed, we lose many species, floras, and faunas due to that. So UN addressed or encouraged everyone to protect their forest and given thorough policies on it. And then we have the Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol basically reduces the Kyoto Protocol is basically an initiative aimed at reducing carbon dioxide emission. Basically, the aim of Kyoto Protocol is to reduce greenhouse gases that are caused by industries or international corporation or multinational corporation, transnational corporation, big industries, mining corporations around the world that cause very rise in the carbon dioxide emissions. So Kyoto Protocol put forward a lot of policies that aim to reduce the greenhouse emission that is basically caused by burning of fossil fuel. Um, the Kyoto Protocol encouraged countries all over the world to reduce the fossil fuel emission by decreasing the production of fossil fuel, decreasing the factory production in by reducing the uses of fossil fuel in those factories. Then we have the Paris Agreement. Oh, sorry, sorry. Then we have the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement aims to limit global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. It unites nations to reduce greenhouse emissions and promote climate resilience. Basically, uh, even though they sound all the same, they are not. People are heavily confused or can't tell the difference between the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. The Kyoto Protocol on an whole tries to reduce the greenhouse emission, and the Paris Agreement aims to lower down the rising temperature of the planet. Basically, its aim is to keep the temperature from rising, and it has to be minimum 2 degrees Celsius. Any more than that will be considered extremely dangerous for the planet and everyone living on it. Basically, the Paris Agreement put forward three goals that it can use. The three goals were mitigation, adaptation, and financial commitments. Basically, Paris agreements wanted to mitigate the greenhouse gas effects completely. It wanted to make people adapt, make the society adapt to the damage that has already been done. The temperature of the earth has risen a lot in the last 50 years. So their aim was to make the organisms, people, humans, and other flora and fauna adapted to the present climate. And finance commitments means that every state or every nation has to spend a certain amount of money to protect to protect the nature of the world, but protect the climate. Uh, Financial to save the forest, to use clean energy, to use uh, nuclear energy. It's very costly for some countries and not everyone can afford them, but most of the countries of this world is run today now by fossil fuels, so clean energy is quite expensive for those countries. So Paris Agreement initiated people or initiative nations to reduce by encouraging financial helps too. This is what the major environment movement or policies that has been taken since we have started discovering what the climate change and its impact on us. Then we have for our topic 5 is public awareness and policy. Now, this is something on a very individual level along with international level. uh, Public awareness means making everyone around us conscious about what is happening, conscious about climate change and its impact, how it's directly proportionate to our lives. There, it's funny how there are still many people on this earth who believe that climate change is a hoax. They don't seem to agree that we are gradually destroying our nature and causing this planet to collapse. But it is, most people don't believe that, and it is the responsibility of the concerned citizens or people like us to to thoroughly know what is happening on Earth. Uh, we have international policies and individual awareness. The international policies can conclude on things like removing subsidy on fossil fuels. The remover of subsidy on fossil fuels means basically subsidy means that to lower the cost of production. Okay, we were talking about international policies. Basically, removing subsidy on fossil fuel means to lower the cost of the production. Basically, a government imposes a subsidy on the use of fossil fuel. So, big corporations or industry can use that fossil fuel at a lower cost. Hence, they can make more production. So, government gives them this subsidy so that they can produce more and hence they can sell more with less resources. but this fossil fuel is thoroughly destroying the nature. So uh, the government has to stop this subsidy on fossil fuels. The subsidy on fossil fuels can be removed by imposing tax on fossil fuel. For example, when a company or when an industry uses fossil fuels, a carbon tax can be implemented on them, for which they will be discouraged, or the use of fossil fuel will be reduced by far. And then we can also promote electric vehicles. As we know, currently the electric vehicles, or as we know, Tesla is very much on the rise, and people are very much interested in buying those vehicles. This is not only environment friendly, this can also save the nature by uh, a lot of means, because electricity production doesn't directly impact nature. Electricity production has some effects on nature, but the use of electric vehicles, the use of electric equipments do not impact the nature directly. This are the international policies and something that can be used on government levels. Now, when it comes to individual level, we when we were kids, or when we were, let's say, 10 to 15 years ago, we used to study in our textbooks that said to switch off the lights and fans when we leave or when we're not using them, to opt for public transports, to not waste resources. But I don't think these can be applicable in today's world, because the world has reached at such an end that the individual policies have very less impact to the amount of pollution that is going on. But it doesn't mean that they don't help at all. We can always use public transport, as an individual car or individual motorcycle or bike can produce more for just one person, where a public transport can produce much less for a larger number of people. Then we can promote positive social changes instead of outdated activities. Yes, that is to say, we have to let the people in our surrounding know what is happening and what their action could result in. This includes teaching children, and along with the people from the older generation who do not always seem to understand what climate change is and do not necessarily agree to it or work accordingly. They continue to do things that pollute the nature little by little. Uh, for example, a very small example will be throwing waste in the rivers. This is a very acute problem faced in this subcontinent or this region, even in my country, that people drop or throw waste products from factories, household use, big industries in the river. This is not only killing those rivers, this is destroying the economic opportunities for many people. In Bangladesh, we are heavily dependent on the river for transportation, for export-import purposes, for fisheries and things like that. But by wasting dump in this river, we are not only just destroying the nature, we are killing our economic activities too. And the last point can be encouraging tree plantation. Of course, this is very important because scientists or researchers have seen that the areas that have more trees surrounded by them has less temperature. That is, the carbon dioxide is absorbed by the trees and more oxygen is released. Hence, the temperature is quite low in those areas. So we can encourage people to plant trees on the sidewalks or on the dividers of the roads and the uh, footpaths. Every city must have a park or a big park that has much trees so that the pollution from the cities, the vehicles, and the industries can be absorbed by that forest or park, and it can maintain an equilibrium. Uh, Tree plantation can not only be done on national, international, it can also be done on individual level. We can sow little plant on our balcony, on our roofs. It will, uh, you may think it's not doing enough, but it will do a lot. A little is a lot. Anything on an individual level is a lot for the people. So this is how we can make the people aware. We can encourage children, we can encourage adults to plant trees and use public transport, and we can also enable the government and international organizations to use their policies to stop the environmental crisis and natural disaster on a larger scale. Then to conduct a summary, we will say that the climate change is caused by us and it is impacting us. So we need to fight against climate change and global warming for our sake. It's not for just the nature only. We are not fighting climate change for nature's sake. We are fighting climate change for our sake, as this is our planet and we have to live in this. And since there is no planet B, we have to take care of this planet. Otherwise, it will just result in the doom for all civilization. The history of climate change spans millennia, but modern concerns began with the Industrial Revolution's introduction of fossil fuels. As we said throughout this webinar, that fossil fuels are the main driving force behind the climate change. Scientific discoveries in the 19th and 20th centuries, like greenhouse effects and carbon dioxide measurements, illuminated human impacts on climate. Basically, it is our actions, small or big, individual or international level, that is causing the nature to be destroyed. It is only because of human actions. Global efforts and agreements followed key events such as the Kyoto Protocol, as we talked about. The Kyoto Protocol is the protocol that reduces greenhouse gas emission, and Paris agreements, that is basically to reduce the temperature by 2% to mitigate effects. Today, climate change is evident in rising temperature, extreme weather events, and melting ice caps, urging global action for sustainable practices and policies to safeguard the planet's future. Not only is the global warming is impacting the ice caps in the Antarctic region, it is slightly gradually rising the sea levels in the coastal areas of our country. The the Because of the rise of the seawater in the southern area of Bangladesh, the soil of that region has become slightly saline. The salinity of soil has risen. Hence, due to that, many crops that in the past used to grow in that region doesn't grow there anymore, because the crop is not resistant to the salinity of that soil, and this salinity is caused by the rise of sea level. The rise of sea level is caused by the global warming, that is caused by the climate change. So we can see that every reaction is a chain of reaction. It's like a domino. It just one thing falls and then another thing and then another. It's just creating a chain of disruptive series of unfortunate events. So to summarize this entire thing in short, we ourselves have to be aware of climate change, how it causes, what we can do to prevent it, and how we at a personal level can also uh, implement ourselves to help the nature to stop global warming. And with that, today we can say that our uh, topic on this has come to an end. I hope I have given all of you a summary to how global warming or the climate change actually functions. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
So, okay, Liana. Thank you, Ms. Liana. I request the participant to submit their doubt and question in the chat box, and Ms. Liana will answer them accordingly.
So there is one question from Vishal Mittal. He said, "What lessons can we learn from historical climate change of events to inform our actions today?" Basically, it is what we said that now we understand that our actions can cause this heavy climate change and global warming. So what we can take from this history is that it is the human actions that have caused for over 100 years since the Industrial Revolution caused the slight slow degradation of nature. So since our human actions have is destroying the nature, our human actions can also prevent it. So what we learn from this is that we can take positive actions. We can uh, not waste resources. We can encourage people to plant trees or things like that. And then we can also, we must, I think it's safe to say we must also help and encourage our government to take sustainable steps, as they are not just individual level, as it cannot be stopped from just an individual level. It needs to be on an international and governmental stage and policies to make sure we stop the further destruction of nature. Okay, we have another question by Aman Khare. How many major scientific discoveries and technological advancements over the past century influenced our understanding of climate change? Okay, so climate change discoveries have been ongoing since the industrial revolution, or since the 1970s to be specific, as it's when we finally started to see the uh, impacts of our actions on nature. Uh, Over the past century, the influence are, yes, we can read research papers and scientific discoveries by many scientists who have written papers on the climate change and global warming. We can see that uh, our the climate change is thoroughly caused caused by the emission of fossil fuels. That is the use of that is used in the industrial industries or factories, that is causing the climate change. So basically, the it is the industries that are slowly destroying the nature. Okay, we have more questions. How was climate change? How has climate change been represented in media and public discourse courses over decades? I feel like, honestly, I feel like this is not as talked about as it should be, because climate change is something we only see in textbooks, or when something very bad has happened, like a natural disaster or something. But I think it's an ongoing process, and it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed annually, if not very frequently, as I don't think the media covers enough climate changes. I would like to mention that in our country, the last few years, we have faced uh, dangerous level of cyclones every year annually, that has caused many people to lose lives, many people to lose their lands, many people to just die, lose everything they have to those cyclones and tidal storms. Hence, we only talk about it when there's something bad has happened. I feel like we shouldn't only be talking about climate change when something bad has happened. We have to keep talking about them, as it is happening continuously. Okay, do we have another question? What predictions were made in the past and made in the past and future about climate change, and how accurately have they been? Yes, according to some news or some research papers that I've read, it is said that the temperature of the planet will rise by almost 45 to 50 degree by the end of this century. And it has been very accurate considering the first people who discovered the effects of greenhouse have accurately learned that by the year 2000 or by the 21st century, the temperature will rise above 2 and 3 degrees, and it has. So the predictions that were that said that by the end of this century the temperature will go beyond 45 and even to 50 degrees. I think it is very accurate, because since the last predictions made by scientists and researchers have been accurate, I feel like the further discoveries or the further predictions they make will also be accurate too. Okay, this is all of the questions that we had. Uh, okay, there's another question by Tiasha. How climate change can affect economical industries and lead degradation in Indian economy? Okay. I would like to say first that it's not only about just the economy of one country. The climate change is actually caused by the industries, not the other way around. The climate change isn't affecting the industries, at least. The climate change is affecting economies of many countries, but I don't think it is affecting the industries, because the industries are the ones causing the climate change. The climate change causes economical issues like resistant crops are not produced anymore. These crops become decayed or get get destroyed by natural disaster annually, by floods and by storms. And economic, like the pollution of water of rivers has significantly decreased the fisheries of a country. Uh, uh, the amount of fish or fisheries produced are slowly reducing as the water has been polluted, and uh, the fresh water needed for fish is not just sufficiently there. And degradation of Indian economy. Okay, I would like to say the economy of this subcontinent, the degradation of this economy is, uh, I don't think it is economic degradation isn't seen as the first world countries are the ones who are using the most fossil fuels. They are also the ones who are making these factories in poor country, like the many countries in the Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, like Myanmar, like Bangladesh. I don't know if it's applicable to India, but the first world countries have many factories in Bangladesh. So these factories that they have in our country is not destroying their nature, but it's destroying our nature. Even though they invest in countries like in the South Asia because it has cheap labor. So because of cheap labor and people willing to work for such minimum wage, they are willing to destroy their nature too in the course of it, because they need money. They don't have sufficient income, and most of them live under the poverty line. So the economical degradation, the economy has increased, the economy has been developed, but the environmental degradation can be seen in vast majorities in these countries or in this region. That was the end of question. Anything else or?
Okay, Liana, as we near the closing ceremony, before depart, we would like to thank Ms. Liana, Dinesh Agarwal sir, Simran Sharma ma'am, and Pradipta Mukherjee sir and responsible member for making this webinar a success. Adore is a global network of students and young professionals like yourself, all passionate about inspiring you to make a positive impact. And we connect you with established professionals and offer a platform to earn from their journey. So if anyone interested can visit the website, and we have shared a link in the chat box, and we request you give to your valuable feedback. And once again, thank you everyone for joining. The webinar is now completed and you may now leave the meeting. And thank you, Ms. Liana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. It was such a nice experience and I enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you.